Welcome to the Holistic Soul Sisters Radio, a channel created to help you heal holistically and grow spiritually. I'm your host, Mandy Rose. I'm not afraid to talk about taboo subjects, so nothing is off limits here. Make sure you hit subscribe and get ready to learn more from me and other experts on all things health, spirituality, astrology, lifestyle, relationships, and so much more. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Let's begin. Hello, everyone. Welcome back, Holistic Soul Sisters and Brothers. If there are any guys that listen to this podcast, we are continuing on with our energetic healing mini-series this week, and it's actually going to span over into next week as we talk about the subject of our sensory experience using sound, light, smell, touch, all these energetic exchanges that have a huge impact on our bodies. So I hope you guys are excited for this episode. Have you guys been liking the energetic healing mini-series? Did you catch last week's episode on past life regression? This was an episode that has been requested for quite some time, ever since I've been talking about my past life regression session. And I'm so honored that my spiritual healer, Hadassah, got to come onto the episode and she channeled and she shared with us. So I hope you really got some aha moments out of that episode. I know it's a little taboo. Not everyone believes in past lives, but I just love her take on karma and energetic healing. And when we can clear all that negative stored energy in our body, we just become lighter. We become light beings again. And we're able to share our positive light with the world. So hopefully you guys love that episode. As we dive into the energy of our senses this week and next week, I'm going to make sure that I keep these episodes really simple. I could make individual episodes, of course, on light therapy, sound therapy, aromatic and essential oils, and of course, touch and reflexology. But for the purpose of this energetic healing mini-series, I am just going to give you guys some examples, how it helps, ways that you can start implementing it, and just kind of the surface level things just to open your mind, let you know that it's out there, and give you this information. So I really hope you enjoy it. I love when you guys give me your feedback. So if you head over to the Holistic Soul Sister Instagram page, it's holistic.soul.sisters, and share with me what you guys think of each episode. Did it enlighten you? Did it inspire you? Have you implemented some of the suggestions and changes into your life? And how is it helping you start to heal yourself energetically? So before we dive in to the 4 senses that we are going to discuss in this week, part 1, and next week's part 2, I wanted to first talk about the human body. I think we already talked about this a little bit in the chakra episode. We talked about it in the anxiety episode, and it's going to keep coming up as we talk about Reiki and acupuncture and Chinese medicine, and of course, our senses. And that is about our body being a specific frequency, right? We've learned about this in science class. We know that all of our cells are constantly in motion. They all have a vibration. Our body is always moving, and we have our own frequency. The human body has its own frequency. And I know people use the word high vibe or low vibe, and it seems so woo-woo, but really think about it, you guys. When we are in high vibe, how do we feel? We feel positive, we feel excited, we feel enlightened, right? Our body is healthy and vibrant and just thriving. But when we are low vibe, what does that mean? We have negative thoughts, we feel sluggish, we feel stuck, we feel just miserable, right? So we know from an energetic point of view when our bodies are high vibration or when we're low vibration, when we feel propelled forward or if we feel stuck and held back. Now, there's a lot of things that can get us into these low energetic states, right? It could be having not enough sunlight. It could be negative words or thoughts or emotions. It could be low vibrational foods, like eating foods that are canned or frozen. It could be low vibrational environments, like going over to someone's house that is always a negative person, right? So we know that there are external things, external energies that then rub off on our body and cause us to be low vibrational. Now, did you know that the human body has been measured through bioenergetic testing to have a frequency between 62 and 72 megahertz. So if we know the average frequency of the human body, then we can look at other things and see what that vibration is, that frequency, and how does that match with our human body. So for instance, all food has its own frequency. Did you know that? Food that has been canned or frozen has a very low frequency. Well, why is that? Well, that's because our food, which is either plants or animals, have their own vibration, right? They are alive, so they have their own frequency. But if it's canned or it's frozen, that vibration, that aliveness, let's just call it that, the aliveness gets killed because it's canned or it's frozen. But if we're eating raw plants, right? If we're eating something straight from the garden or we pick an apple off of a tree, that is still alive. And so it still has a high frequency. So, this is often when we talk about food as medicine. If you are on a raw diet, you are typically eating foods higher in vibration. Now, for instance, when you have a cup of coffee, that cup of coffee will lower your body's frequency because it's acidic. Things that are acidic lower our body's frequency, our body's vibration. So, this is when we can use things like sound healing or aromatherapy and essential oils or light therapy, the senses, our energetic senses, to bring our frequency back up. So, let me give you guys some numbers just to kind of ponder over. So, I said the healthy human body resonates at about 62 to 72 megahertz, right? Well, if you have a cold or a flu, that goes down from 62 to 72 all the way down to 57 megahertz. And that the human body with cancer goes down even lower to 42 megahertz. And also, when the human body is beginning to die, it goes all the way down to 25 megahertz. Now, on the flip side, let's talk about something that's extremely high vibrational. Therapeutic grade essential oils, for example, vibrate from 47 all the way to 580 megahertz. Now, if a healthy human body is 62 to 72, and you have some essential oils that vibrate at like 320, for example, which is rose oil, think how smelling that, using our energetic sense of smell, can then raise our vibration as the human body. So you can see that all these things that we experience on a daily basis are either going to raise or lower our frequency of our physical body. So that is something I just wanted to talk about as we dive into sound, light, smell, and touch, because all of those are just energy, right? When we hear sound, it's an energy, a wave, a frequency that comes into our body and we experience that sense. Or smell, right? It's a wave of smell. We don't see it, but it's an energy that is then going to change our mood and change our thoughts, right? So keep that open mind as we dive into each. In this week's episode, we're going to talk about the sense of hearing, so sound and sound therapy. And we're also going to talk about touch. That includes reflexology and massage and human interaction. And then in next week's episode, in part 2, we are going to dive into light therapy, which is considered phototherapy, and also smell, which is aromatherapy. So I hope you guys really enjoy these 2 episodes. You gain a lot of knowledge and some things that you can start putting into practice right away, because so many of these healing modalities are free. And although we talk about things like past life regression and Reiki and all these things that do cost a little bit of money, I want to make sure to give you guys the free versions that you can implement right now. So let's dive in to our first sense, and that is the sense of sound. So I personally am so obsessed with sound therapy and sound healing. This is considered the most powerful form of energy. Sound, it's something that we're always receiving, right? Whether we're aware of it or not, we're always hearing something, whether it's the birds in the distance, the hum of the dishwasher, someone talking, music, whatever it might be. We're constantly receiving this frequency of sound. And did you know that sound travels easiest through water? This has been scientifically proven. And we are mostly made up of water. So, this is why they consider sound to be one of the most powerful forms of energetic healing. So, let's break down sound. Sound travels through the element of ether, and ether is air, it expands. And when sound waves travel through air, it actually expands the space that it's in. So when it reaches our cells, it's actually opening up space within that cell. And since everything is a vibration, think about this: our thoughts, our emotions, our physical body, right? It's constantly in motion. These are all vibrations. When we have a negative thought, we can put out bad vibes. If we're angry, we create a vibration in our body. So when this wave of sound comes in through our ears and enters our body, we can just feel the physical sensation of sound, right? And there's been a lot of studies, and I know that we can personally relate to this. When sounds come in, we can either get really hot. Sometimes it makes us contract, like it makes our muscles really tense. Like if you hear music that you just can't stand on a physiological level, your muscles might contract. Sometimes, if you're doing a sound bath or you're listening to certain music that just really resonates with you, you can feel vibration or tingling. And sound actually has the ability, since it cracks open spaces, it expands spaces within our body. When it opens up these cells, when it opens up our muscles, when it opens up our tissues, it can actually release old pains and old emotions that have been suppressed and stuffed down. So, sound is an amazing form of energetic healing. And did you know that even Western medicine has started to use sound healing to help their patients? For instance, subsonic frequency, which is like a very low vibration sound that you can barely even hear, is used by doctors to break apart stones like gallstones or kidney stones. It's really interesting that they're using the energy of sound to heal even in Western medicine. So we know that it can affect us on a physical level, right? But what about emotionally? When we hear specific sounds or specific music, we can actually open up our heart, right? Our heart has its own vibration, its own frequency, its own resonance that it puts off, which is scientifically measurable, right? So, because sound can open up our heart center, we can actually open up our emotional space. So, you guys know we talked about this in the anxiety episode. If we are living our daily life, we don't have time to feel all the emotions that get triggered within us, right? So, you're like driving to work and someone cuts you off and it makes you angry. Or you're at work and your boss says something nasty to you. You don't have time to sit there and cry about it. You just stuff it down. So, constantly all day, we're suppressing and storing and stuffing our emotions so we can just get on with the day. But what happens to that energy, that vibration of that emotion? It goes into our tissues and we hold on to it and we store it and we get tense and we get tight. And we can see this physically with very rounded shoulders, right? Rounded shoulders can indicate that we are protecting our heart. We're caving in to protect our heart. Music, on the other hand, can crack open our heart and bring up all of those emotions. You guys know what I'm talking about. Have you ever heard a song and it just like instantly makes you want to cry? The lyrics and the music, and sometimes if you're listening to like a symphony or classical music where there's no words, you can just feel the powerful effects of music. And it really can affect our mood, which therefore affects our thought process, right? Think about like drums in Africa. This is such a classic example. If you are sitting in a drum circle and people are playing drums, you can just either get very high vibe, depending on how they're playing that drum, or you can get very meditative as you hear the constant rhythm of the drumming, right? So, music and sound healing definitely affects us on an emotional level, but it also affects us on a mental level. And this is when I heard about the science, it just made me go, oh my gosh, this makes so much sense. So, we have our own brain waves, right? We can detect this through MRIs and different scans. Our brain waves move in a certain pattern. But sound, which is energy, which is a vibration, comes in through our ears into our brain and can then change and recalibrate our own brain waves. And this is called brain wave entrainment. So, entrainment is just essentially a fancy word that describes when one object, which is more powerful energetically, can therefore then change the energy of another object. So here's an example. This is an experiment that they did with cuckoo clocks. They put a bunch of cuckoo clocks in one room and they were all ticking at their own rate, and they left them in this room together. And after 10 minutes, all of the cuckoo clocks started ticking in the exact same pattern. So one object was able to change the energy of all the other cuckoo clocks to make them all sync up the exact same way. And this is what happens with brainwave entrainment when we use sound to train and modulate and rewire our own personal brainwaves. So, with that, we are constantly in what's called a beta wave state. So, this is our conscious state. This is when our survival instincts are going, it's thriving every day, going to work, protecting us, that sympathetic nervous system that is always in fight or flight. But when we are in fight or flight, we cannot rest and digest and heal. And this is again something we talked about in the anxiety episode. So, if we're trying to heal our physical body, but we're in beta brainwave state all the time, we're never going to be able to heal because we're not resting. So, what sound frequency and sound healing can do for us is take us from beta down to theta. And theta brainwave state is like your dream state. It's the relaxation state. I always say it's like, when you're laying in bed and you're just about to fall asleep, like you're in that hypnotic state where like you sometimes twitch or you feel like you're falling as you're falling asleep. That's theta. And sound frequency and sound bath meditations can put us in that theta dreamlike state. And this is where we start to relax. Our parasympathetic nervous system kicks in and we go into this healing mode. So, this is amazing for people who have anxiety or negative thought patterns, or ego is holding us back by telling us all these negative things. And as we go into theta state, as we get out of fight or flight and survival mode, we can start to actually calm the mind and we can start to make logical decisions. We can get creative. We open up space again, right? Sound, like I said, cracks open ether, cracks open the space. And now we can hold space to have creative thoughts come in, different downloads, aha moments, insights, outside perspectives of our life, of what we're feeling. It just gets us into a different brainwave state where we can thrive instead of just surviving. Now, I want to talk about an experiment that a lot of people have already heard about, and that's from Dr. Emoto. He's a Japanese researcher, and he's famous for his research on water and the structure changes that occur to water by either speaking positive words to the water or negative words. And he's also done a lot of studies on music and different types of music and how it changes the structure of water. So, if you've heard of this experiment, you know that when he spoke positively and loving to water and froze the water, it had this beautiful, harmonious, symmetrical pattern to the frozen crystals in the water. But when he exposed water to negative words, harsh comments, negative energy, negative feelings and emotions, those frozen crystalline structures were all scattered and had no rhythm to them at all. So, again, this goes back to knowing that our bodies are composed of mostly water. So, his research indicates that when we speak positive to ourselves or we expose ourselves to high vibration, high frequency people, environments, food, energies, we then change the energy of our body because, like I said, remember, sound is most powerful in water. So it's really interesting to note that. Now, the other thing I wanted to bring up is the Schumann resonance or the Schumann frequency. And this is the frequency of Earth, which is 432 hertz. So, this is what the earth vibrates at. This is what we get when we go outside and we get grounded and we put our feet on the earth. Now, here's a crazy thing I learned as I dove into sound healing. Did you know that in Nazi Germany in 1940s, when they were doing all these experiments on the Jews, music was actually changed from 432 hertz, which is the resonance of the earth, like I just said. Music was always at 432 hertz. But in Nazi Germany, they changed it to 440 hertz as a form of mind control because they were aware that sound changes brainwave states and therefore can also change our DNA. So they changed the music, basic music, from 432, which has always been that way, to 440 hertz as a form of mind control. Totally crazy when I heard that, and it made me realize how powerful sound is to our energetic body. Now, as I kept learning about this, I wondered what made sound so beneficial. How did it actually help us heal, right? When it comes to sound, in order for it to benefit our body, it has to be two things. It has to be constant and sustained. Now, if you're playing the drums, but you're playing all different drums and different patterns and different rhythms, that wouldn't work. It has to be constant. So the same drum or the same three drums in a sustained way. So sustained, meaning the same tempo, the same rhythm, the same decibel for a length of time. So it has to be constant and sustained. And when this occurs, we go into that delta state, that sleeping awake state, and our subconscious can start to thrive. And this is where sound bath meditations come in. Now, this is something I did my entire healing journey from mold. It's something I continue to do all the time. If you have access to a practitioner in your local area that does sound baths, highly, highly recommend you going to a session. When you do a sound bath, you essentially go into a room and a practitioner will play different sound bowls. Typically, there are about 7 sound bowls, each one resonating with a different chakra point in the body. If you listen to the episode about chakras, every chakra resonates at a different frequency and reacts to a different frequency of music, of sound. So I talked about that in that episode, but at a sound bath, typically they will play all 7 sound bowls, activating all different chakra points, which therefore activates different organ systems and emotions and feelings in our body. And so sound baths are really a total cellular massage, a total body activation, activating all 70 trillion cells of our body. It's absolutely incredible. I've cried during a sound bath. I've gotten aha moments for my business. I've stirred up really deep emotions I didn't even realize that I had. I've gone into complete hypnotic states and seen like past lives and all sorts of different things during sound baths. So it's a very relaxing brain activity. If you are someone who has a lot of anxiety, you're always racing thoughts and overthinking and you cannot calm down, sound baths are an amazing way to get into that theta brainwave state and to train your body to get to theta brainwave state a little bit quicker. And something that one of my sound bath meditation teachers taught me is that there are 2 kinds of sounds. We either have harmonious sounds that sound beautiful and sound really good and like make us vibe, or you have sounds that are not harmonious. And she said the medicine is actually in the sound that you can't stand. So she would always say when she played the 7 chakra bowls, if there was one bowl that you just couldn't stand, that was the medicine. That was the chakra that you needed to get back into balance. So, love sound bath meditations. Now, if you don't have a practitioner in your area that does sound baths, or you have no idea where to even begin looking for sound bath meditations, what you can do is start tonight on YouTube. Just type in sound healing, sound frequency for anxiety, sound frequency for calming, sound frequency for sleeping, sound frequency for releasing anger, or pick a chakra system. If you know you need to work on your throat chakra after listening to the chakra episode, type into YouTube sound frequency for throat chakra, and you'll see that different hertz relates to different emotions. So 432 is the Schumann resonance, which is the resonance of earth, which is very calming, right? That's why we go outside and ground, like I said. So if you listen to sound frequency at 432 hertz, that's going to help calm you. Now, if you listen to sound frequency at like 1,000 hertz, that's more for the crown chakra, the enlightenment, the out of body experiences. So sometimes at night, I will listen to a very high hertz frequency if I'm trying to manifest something, or if I'm trying to have a dream where like I get downloads or visualizations about things I need to know. So every single night, like clockwork, I always put on sound frequency to fall asleep to. Now, after doing this for about 6 years, my body knows it's time to go to bed. I have trained my brain to know it's time to go to sleep as soon as I start hearing that music. So, one of the apps I love to use is called Relax Melodies. If you haven't downloaded it, go download it. It's absolutely amazing. And what I love about this app is it has a bunch of different sounds. So, it has things like cats purring and thunderstorm and vacuum and white noise and crackling of a fire. So, I pick Zen, which is that like meditative, like humming. and rain. Those are my two favorite sounds. And I will just play them right before I fall asleep, and it will play all night long. It keeps me in theta state. It prevents me from waking up. If there's a dog barking or something is going on, my brain is trained to listen to that sound, and that constant, remember I said it has to be sustained and constant all night long to keep me in theta state. Now, if I want to have a different experience, because sometimes I get bored with that, that's when I go on YouTube and do the sound frequency. So there is one that I have found that is like a 7 chakra cleanse that's like 10 hours long, and I'll play it and it'll play all the different frequencies for each chakra point, and I'll get a full chakra cleanse overnight using the YouTube sound frequency healing. So hopefully, this episode inspired you and enlightened you. Again, like I said, I could make an entire episode just about sound healing. I just wanted to give you some nuggets of wisdom to help you kind of process and wrap your brain around sound healing. And let me know if you find any sound frequencies on YouTube that you absolutely love. Send them to my DMs on my IG. I'm always looking for new sound frequency healing meditations. So let's move into the next sense that we can use to energetically heal, and that is the sensation of touch. Now, touch is interesting, right? Some people don't like to be touched, some people love being touched. This is something that can be very much trained from childhood. So I definitely want to be sensitive to those who have some emotional pain or some triggers around physical touch. So we're just going to talk about it more in the form of energy exchange and how it can affect our energetic body. So there's a lot of studies that have been done when it comes to touch therapy. First of all, we know that when babies are born, the first thing that they do when a mother gives birth is lay that baby on the mother's chest to create connection, to create harmony, right? To create that love, that foundation that babies and moms need as they go through life together. So we know that touch is the first energy we use in the womb to navigate life. Touch is very important to us as humans, and it can impact our energy. They also did this really interesting study on touch in mice, where the young mice were either licked by their mothers more or not licked at all by their mothers. And then later on in life, the mice that were licked less by their mothers or not touched at all by their mothers, later in life had more of a stress response to an external stimulus. So, this showed as an experiment that the more cuddles and hugs and touch that we experience in our childhood will then help us later in life when we are triggered by emotional stress, by external circumstances that raise our cortisol, right? Touch calms us. Touch relaxes us. Touch reminds us that we're connected to other humans and therefore puts us into our parasympathetic nervous system. Again, we talked about this with anxiety. We talked about this just now in sound therapy. When our bodies can go into this parasympathetic nervous system, this calmness, we're able to start healing. We're able to start relaxing and experiencing life in a different way than if we are just in survival mode all the time. Now, there's another study that talks about how hugs affect our immune system. Now, this is kind of funny, obviously, with COVID and all the things going on in the world. We obviously know that hugging people can lead to us getting viruses. But overall, the study shows that people, when they are sick, if they get physical touch or they get affection through hugs, through actual physical touch, it helps boost their immune system because it makes them feel loved. And love is a vibration, love is a feeling that increases our energetic field, increases our vibration. And therefore, the increase in vibration will help our immune system fight the bad guys of the virus, bacteria, or whatever is going on. So, hugs are important to our energetic health. Now, also, when it comes to touch, is the practice of reflexology, right? So, this is touching specific points on our body to have an energetic effect, right? Dealing with the energetic systems in our body. So, for instance, when you do reflexology on the feet, there's different points that you can touch that will calm the nervous system or stimulate the energetic response of the liver or deal with like the brain in different ways. So we know that this physical sensation of touch on specific pressure points or acupuncture points or reflexology points on the body will then trigger a cascading effect of energy throughout our entire body. So I thought that was so cool. And just knowing these things, you guys can do more research. Like I said, in these episodes, I don't want to go into too much detail. I could do an episode on every energetic sense. And if you guys want me to, I'm totally happy to find an expert that can come and talk about reflexology. But I think you're going to hear a lot more about that in the episode when we talk about Chinese medicine, the energy meridians, and acupuncture. It's very similar to reflexology. So we will dive more into that. But for the purpose of this energy, I just want you guys to realize that touch is an energetic form of healing. So if you are struggling physically, mentally, spiritually, whatever, incorporating more healthy physical touch can help increase your vibration. So go get a massage or go get a reflexology session. Or if you are getting your nails done, right? Pay for that upgrade to get a foot massage. Just that physical sensation of touch on the body can raise our vibration in very high ways. So that's all I have for you guys in part one. Make sure you hit subscribe to this podcast because next week for Taboo Tuesday, we're going to dive into part two where we're going to talk all about smell and aromatherapy and essential oils and how we can use the energy of smell to help heal our body. And we're also going to talk about light. Now, light is going to be my favorite, so I'm leaving it for the end. And that is all about how phototherapy affects us. We can use the sun energetically to heal us. We can use red light and blue light and color therapy, chromatherapy to heal our bodies in such powerful ways for free. So I hope you guys are looking forward to that episode. For more information, stay tuned to our Instagram page. You can find it linked in the description because I'm going to be bringing you guys so many more resources when it comes to sound and touch. And then next week, I'll bring you guys more about light and smell. Also, you guys know what time of year it is. It is almost 11/11, which is when my pre-sale goes live for the 2022 Retrograde Astrology Journal. For those of you who don't know, I am a relational astrologer, so I use astrology to help you have a better relationship with yourself by understanding your birth chart and understanding why you are the way you are, instead of you trying to fit into the box of what society and your parents and everyone else tells you to be. And then I also help you have better relationship with those around you, whether that's your children, your partner, your parents, your best friend, by understanding their birth chart and how it mixes and matches with yours. And that allows you to give other people so much more love and grace and patience as you understand why they are the way they are. So, using astrology, I have put together a 2022 retrograde astrology journal. The first one I had came out last year. It's part educational where you're going to learn about what each new moon and full moon means, how to harness this energy. We dive into the sun season, so you get to learn more about what you should put on your bucket list for Taurus season or Scorpio season. And then lastly, and most importantly, we talk about all the retrogrades. So you're going to learn, what does a Uranus retrograde mean? What is life coach Uranus here to help us accomplish in this lifetime, right? What does a Mercury retrograde in Gemini mean? When it's in the zodiac sign of Gemini or Libra or Aquarius, what's the difference and what themes are going to be brought up during this time? So it's part educational where you're going to learn all of these things, but it's also part interactive where there's journal prompts to help you think about the energy that's being brought up at each new moon. There's the new and the full moon rituals that are interactive, things that you can do at the time of the new and the full moons to harness the energy and set intentions at new moons or release things at the full moons. And it's also interactive in the sense that it gives you bucket list things to do for each sun season so you can really maximize your potential and maximize your life experience using the energy of the planets. So if you are interested in grabbing a copy of that, the pre-sale does go live on 11/11. We're going to do some promotions and some sales. And if you want to get your hands on a copy before the 2022 begins, you're going to want to order during that pre-sale because then I can get it to you before the holidays and you can jump right in with the first new moon, which is happening on January 2nd of this year. So you're going to want to start off the year right away with that journal and start maximizing the potential of the planets and the stars. So stay tuned for that over on the Instagram. Thank you guys so much for being a part of our Holistic Soul Sister community. I adore all of you. I love when you reach out. So never hesitate to send me a DM. Give me your ahas. Share with me what you're healing holistically from or how you're growing spiritually. That is the entire purpose of Holistic Soul Sister. ancestors is to enlighten you and help make your path a little bit easier. So make sure you hit subscribe, and I will catch you guys in part 2 of this energetic healing mini series on sound, light, smell, touch, using the energy of our senses to help heal the body, mind, and spirit. Hope you guys have a great week. I'll catch you next week for Taboo Topic Tuesday. And until then, keep healing holistically and growing spiritually.